Well, for the last few years, especially since the financial crisis, world leaders have been forced to become more aware of the major problem that transnational corporations have been able to organize themselves in such a way as to really pay a minimal amount of tax. This is actually a long-standing problem, and it was one that a number of campaigners identified quite a long time ago. We had some success earlier, and already in 2003 the Tax Justice Network started to campaign more actively around this question. But it's really only since the financial crisis, as I say, that world leaders, acting first through the G7 and then the G20, were forced really to start a more major reform of international tax rules. But they gave the aims of the reform through the St. Petersburg Declaration of the G20 in 2013, and they gave the job of reforming those rules to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. The instruction or the mandate from the G20 leaders to the OECD was to reform international tax rules to ensure that multinationals could be taxed where their economic activities occur and where value is created. And this is really crucial and has been one of the demands of the tax justice movement, as I say, for 15 or 20 years. Really because the international tax rules date back to the 1920s. And at that time international investment was more portfolio investment, where you had investors in one country investing in businesses in other countries, and they allocated rights to tax so that the country of residence of the investor could tax the profits, the investment returns, the dividends and interest, and the country where the business was located could tax the business profits. But this really is inadequate for internationally organized companies. Transnational corporations operate worldwide really as single entities under central direction. So what's been needed really is to adapt those rules so that those transnational corporations can be treated as single entities instead of treating them as separate entities operating in different countries but loosely tied together. Now the OECD has made an attempt to do that through what they call the Project on Base Erosion and Profit Shifting, BEPS. They were given this mandate in 2013. They had to do it quite quickly, in 2.5 years. So by the end of 2015, last year, they produced reports from the BEPS project. And this in some ways made some progress, but basically, unfortunately, we think, they really mainly tried to patch up the existing system. They strengthened the rules for national tax authorities to tax the particular parts of the multinational, and they moved in some ways to this more unitary approach, looking at multinationals as unitary entities, but only very partially. Probably the main gain has been a template for country-by-country reporting, that now every transnational corporation should report on their worldwide activities and declare the profits in each country and the tax paid in each country. This, for the first time, will give tax authorities everywhere an overview of each company and show where it actually has activities, where it has employees, where it has sales, and where it declares its profits, because the data we have shows that very many companies declare much greater profits in countries where they have almost no employees, sometimes none, where it's just a paper entity, and those happen to be places where taxes are low or non-existent. So for the first time there will be this template for country-by-country reporting, but it has a number of limitations. It will only apply to the very biggest companies, those with a turnover over 750 million euros, and it will only be given to tax authorities, but worse, it will only be given to the tax authority of the home country of each multinational, which will then is supposed to exchange it with the others, but it gives control of that information first to the company and then to its own tax authority, its home country tax authority. So there are concerns about that. And we've asked really for public country-by-country reporting. The data really for a public company should not be regarded as commercially confidential. It doesn't ask for any details of the company's activities. There's nothing commercially confidential. Within the EU, now there are strong movements towards public country-by-country reporting. We think that's the direction it should go.